This is Focus on Africa from BBC World News, live from our studio in Nairobi. I'm Nancy Kachingira. As we continue our special coverage this week on the spread of disinformation in Africa, we have an exclusive report from Nigeria on false information on Facebook and the deadly consequences.
The owners of Facebook, they ought to be doing much more. If something could be done, it will save lives.
In the search for likes, just how accurately do people portray themselves online? We conducted an experiment to find out.
And I'm Sophie Ikenya in London. Also in the program, police in Uganda say the 9 students killed in a fire at their boarding school were locked inside their dormitory. And in sports, FIFA appoints a normalization committee to run the affairs of Madagascar's Football Federation.
I'm Nancy Kachingira in Nairobi. All this week, the BBC is examining the spread of fake news. We begin today in Nigeria, where authorities say the spread of false information is leading to deadly violence. Let's go straight to our correspondent, Mayeni Jones, who's in Lagos.
Hi, Nancy. Well, the BBC's African investigations team, Africa Eye, went to the central Nigerian state of Plateau. It's a state that has a long history of intercommunal conflicts, but although the clashes there have existed long before Facebook's creation, both the police and the army told the team that Facebook has created a new realm of warfare, and they say it's one that they're struggling to keep up with. This video went viral on Facebook in Nigeria in June 2018. Watch for 2 more minutes and you'll see dead bodies and crying victims with horrendous wounds. It was labeled on Facebook as an attack on a Borom Christian community by Fulani Muslims, but it was actually filmed in the Republic of Congo in 2012. This trickery may have had deadly consequences here in Jos, central Nigeria. An investigation by the BBC has found evidence hundreds of Facebook posts spreading false information and hate speech are fueling fear and inciting violence in this fragile region.
The problem of fake news is so bad in our community. In fact, almost everybody is living in fear.
The police in Jos claim more than a dozen people have died as a result of false information on Facebook. In one incident on the 24th of June 2018, roads were blocked in the south of the city, vehicles were burnt, and 11 Muslim men were killed by a furious mob of Christians. The authorities believe that fake graphic posts reporting to show a massacre of Christians nearby, including the viral film from the Congo, played a role in inciting these men to violence.
People showed pictures which were fake. Just South was not under attack at that point in time. But because of those images they saw, roads were blocked, vehicles were burnt, and so many people died.
One of the victims that day was Muhammad Lawal. His adopted mother, Hajia Habiba Muhammad, is still struggling to overcome the sudden loss of her son.
He took care of me. I brought him up. I have no son. He took care of me. Whenever I went out, he showed concern for me.
Muhammad's wife Amina says their 2 children are distraught.
Every day they are crying, asking when is their father going to return. Every day they remember him. I tell them, sorry, he will not return.
A local academic and member of the Borom community, Dr. Sam Godongs, believes Facebook should be doing more to address this fake news crisis.
The owners of Facebook, they ought to be doing much more. If something could be done, it will save lives. It's a matter of life and death for us.
Facebook, who have a hub here in Lagos, published plans to tackle fake news in Nigeria in October this year. They announced partnerships with third-party fact-checking agencies AFP and Africa Check to debunk dangerous misinformation. But the BBC has found that the initiative will involve the hiring of only a handful of fact-checkers to tackle the problem. This in a country where Facebook has more than 20 million users. In a statement to the BBC, the company acknowledged they have a responsibility to keep people safe and prevent the spread of misinformation and hate on Facebook. They said they're fighting this abuse using machine learning, fact-checkers and numerous civic engagement partnerships. Now, Nancy, it's important to stress that Facebook is trying to tackle the problem of false information on its platform in Nigeria. But the criticism that's been leveled against it by a number of analysts we've spoken to is that their efforts are simply not commensurate to the scale of the problem. For example, following this investigation, the Africa Eye team sent Facebook a number of false videos they found on its platform, including one showing women being burnt alive and that was being attributed to Fulani herdsmen. Turns out that video was from Nairobi in 2012. Facebook took it down, saying that it violated its policy on dangerous imagery and on violent imagery. But a quick search shows you that the video is still out on Facebook, just embedded in other posts. So despite their best efforts, the imagery still persists.
Thank you very much, Mayeni, for laying out for us what it's like in Nigeria. Here in Kenya, let's take a closer look at the situation and, as you say, the scale of the problem. With me now is Nanjala Nyabola, who is a writer and a political analyst. I'm also joined by Mark Kaigwa, who is the founder of a digital insights company called Nendo. Thank you for making time today. Nanjala, if I start with you, because you've argued before that this phenomenon isn't necessarily new, this fake news phenomenon. But are there facets of it that are, with technology going at the pace it is?
Absolutely. The underlying architecture is very familiar to us as human beings. Propaganda has been a part of political conversation, has been part of society since politics began, really, and it's taken on different forms. I think the fundamental differences that we're seeing right now is the speed of communications, and that's definitely a direct result of digital developments. And we're also seeing a lot more insular communication. So people are only talking to people that they already know. They're talking within closed networks of family and friends. And that changes their political behavior because they're having their opinions and their viewpoints reinforced by people that they already agree with, and not necessarily having the kind of back and forth that you want to have in a political conversation. But propaganda itself and rumors, that's been with us for a very long time.
And these developments Nanjala is talking about, do they have an impact on business as well, and corporations?
Absolutely. One of the most profitable and leading telecommunications companies in the region, Safaricom, in their 2017 sustainability report said that false news was one of their greatest challenges. And so we're seeing the corporate sector.
How is it one of their greatest challenges?
Sure, I think what we're seeing in a hotly contested electoral time and leading into even the present day in Nairobi and certainly the region is that for false news actors or misinformation publishers and purveyors, they pick targets who can make potential settlements, if you will. So not only are they publishing what are very sensitive corporate documents, but at times publishing a number of fake or exaggerated or embellished claims or very hard to verify rumors with the hope of creating the illusion that if they come again privately, seeking a private off-the-books settlement, that they will actually get audience at that time. So it's a mixture between some actual verifiable and factual information, but plenty of false, and really they tended to fatigue the audience and make it indistinguishable between both.
And the problem also is that it's the person who has fake news made up about them who has to prove it.
Yes. And it shifts the burden of proof from the person who is generating the false information to the people who are receiving it. And that's also very unusual because when you open a newspaper, for example, it's not your job to make sure that the newspaper has verified and has fact-checked everything that's in there. That's the responsibility of the editorial team. But now, if you're receiving most of your news from social media, for example, there's actually that extra layer of responsibility on you as the consumer to make sure that what you're consuming is true. That's a very unusual development.
So in terms of solutions to this, how do you tackle that? Because you've said before, you can't really expect mass media platforms to regulate themselves. So who should be regulating them?
I definitely think that the media fraternity has a responsibility in this particular landscape to raise the bar on behavior. Certainly what we've seen in Kenya is that the media fraternity has been actually lowering the bar on behavior. For example, starting unverified websites. There's a number that every major newspaper, for example, has a website affiliated with it that spreads gossip and rumor and malice, kind of chasing those clicks per minute and that clicks per minute model. And I think that the media houses need to reclaim this territory from this, fake news purveyors and really be the standard standard for truth and objective information. I think that consumers also do have a responsibility in this particular landscape, and that means not sharing information if it hasn't been verified. It's not fair, really. We shouldn't have to do this, but we have to respond.
This is where we are now.
This is where we are now.
And Mark, just quickly, what are companies going to have to be thinking about in this brave new world of fake information that's spreading so easily?
Sure, I think one key thing is social listening. So just this act of consistently seeking out what connected consumers on the continent, north of 200 million on social networks, close to 450 million internet users, what they're doing when on public platforms where they express themselves, because that's where you can either spot trends, patterns, and in South Africa, we even saw this lead to mass uncovering of complex misinformation networks, not unlike what we've seen overseas.
Amazing. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Nanjala, for joining us tonight and for making time. Well, fake or real, truth or lie, how can you really tell the difference? And especially in an age where internet use is booming. In Africa, it's up an incredible 20% across the continent in the last year alone. With so many of us out there on social media trying to put our best face forward, the bar seems to be getting higher and higher to look good, have successful work lives and love lives. But in our lust for likes, are we losing a grip on reality? Well, as part of the BBC's Beyond Fake News season, we were here in Nairobi, Kenya, to find out how this is affecting us. Here's Victoria Uwonhunda.
Social media use in Africa has exploded in the last few years. On Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, people are connected like never before, putting their lives out in the digital world for all to see. For many millennials, it's a world where they document every single part of their lives. This is Glamour Pam, a reality TV star from the hit Kenyan series Nairobi Diaries. For her, social media is a showcase for her talents and has been a huge boost to her career.
I do it for fun, I do it for me, I do it because I love cameras, I do it because I love me.
It's rare to find anyone under the age of 30 who doesn't do social media. There are a few though.
I'm so sorry to say this, but I feel like they do fake who they are, because as much as they say, oh, I woke up like this, and maybe they take a picture or a video, no, you didn't wake up like that. They are getting addicted to social media, actually, and I hate that addiction.
But Joey has agreed to take part in an experiment, living her life on Instagram for a week. And Pam is helping her out.
I'm not taking any more photos or pictures.
Okay.
Enough of my photos. You now have to take your picture. Okay. First post in your Instagram with your phone.
So let's see how Joey feels after her first post.
I was so nervous. I won't lie, guys. I got 1 like, but I'm hoping and I'm praying for more likes.
And that excitement starts to build up pretty quickly.
I woke up, grabbed my phone as fast as I could. When I saw those notifications pop up, I felt so happy. I was like, oh, I gotta take a shower, look pretty, take photos, to just like show people who I really am.
It's affecting what we call dopamine levels in your brain, and it's gratification. When this happens, you feel nice, you feel good about yourself.
But halfway through the experiment, Joey begins to struggle.
You have to have, creative ideas. You have to now know what you want people to see, and is this what people actually have to withstand to get those likes?
What could be behind Joey's anxiety to post?
There are people who are afraid of being criticized. Because they just didn't get the number of likes that they expected, then they use that to judge themselves, and that affects their moods, and now things start to go downhill.
At the end of the week, Joey reflects on the experience.
I got to see all these pretty women, all this glamorous life, all this everything. It kind of makes me emotional, There's nothing worse like having to compare yourself to other people,
We can try to ignore it, but social media is our new world. A world where our sense of identity and belonging is changing, and the line between fake and real is blurred. Victoria Uwonhunda, BBC News.
Well, that was a look at how fakeness online is affecting our very identities. But of course, it goes much further than that. Fake news affects our societies, our democracies, our politics, and our governance. And that's something we'll be looking at tomorrow as we continue with our season of Beyond Fake News. And so I will hand back to you, Sophie, in the studio.
Well, Nancy Kachungira, it's really nice to see you in our new studios there in Nairobi, the biggest bureau, of course, outside of the UK. Those reports on Beyond Fake News are, of course, part of our special season across the BBC News this week. There's plenty more online. Simply go to bbc.com/fake news and join the conversation on Twitter using the hashtag Beyond Fake News. This is Focus on Africa from BBC World News. Still to come, they have qualified for next year's Nations Cup with 2 games to spare. But can Senegal go all the way and win their first ever continental title? I'm Sophie Ikenya and you're watching Focus on Africa from BBC World News. The top story on this program: with fake news on the rise in Nigeria, authorities say the spread of false information is leading to deadly violence. Let's now take a quick look at other stories making headlines across Africa and the world. Police in Ethiopia have arrested the former head of a military-run company, that's Metek, who's facing allegations of massive corruption involving millions of dollars. Major General Kinfe Dagnew was detained as he attempted to cross the border into neighboring Sudan. He's the most senior official to be arrested so far in the crackdown on security personnel accused of corruption and human rights violations. Now, one day after 7 opposition parties in the Democratic Republic of Congo signed an accord in Geneva that to field a single candidate, 2 leaders have announced they are pulling out. Felix Tshisekedi and Vital Kamerhe say there isn't enough grassroots support among party members for the deal. In Cameroon, charges against the Anglophone journalist Mimi Mefo have been dropped. She had been accused of spreading fake news and terrorism. According to her employer, the military tribunal stopped proceedings against her following the intervention of President Paul Biya. And firefighters in California have made partial progress in containing 2 wildfires, the deadliest in California's history. 44 people have now died and hundreds remain missing. People in Tamalito in the north now have the go-ahead to return home, but the fire is still only about 30% contained. Now, police in southern Uganda have arrested 3 students suspected of starting a school fire in which students died. The fire happened on Monday morning at a boys' boarding school, that's St. Bernard Secondary School, in the town of Rakai. Padlocks had to be broken to save the lives of 30 other students. Our reporter Catherine Biaruhanga has more from Kampala.
The rescue efforts were made much harder, according to the police, because a padlock was placed outside the dormitory door before it was set alight. And that's why they're treating this as an arson and murder case. Investigations are now underway. 6 people have been arrested so far, including 3 students. But this fire has caused anger amongst Ugandans, particularly because this isn't the first school fire. People are looking for answers and solutions.
I don't like the fact that we handle things when they've happened. I like it when we become proactive as government, and that is what I'm advocating for. We want to give our contributions to government so that we stop the fires from happening than just going there to react to fires.
The leader of the opposition in Parliament called for the resignation of the junior minister for higher education. He promised that the government would do more.
I'm appealing to all the schools to make sure that they use this holiday to put in place whatever the guidelines require.
That's John Munyingo speaking there. That's the Junior Minister for Higher Education in Uganda, ending that report by Catherine Biaruhanga. You're watching BBC Focus on Africa. I'll be Peter and Mimi today and bring you the sport. FIFA has appointed a normalization committee to run the affairs of Madagascar's Football Federation. Football's world governing body says it is disbanding the current administration because the FA's electoral process was not carried out in accordance with the regulatory requirements applicable to the members of FIFA. Now, the normalization committee's mandate will include organizing elections and identifying legitimate delegates for the FA's General Assembly. Now, it's been confirmed by the Spanish Football Federation that Real Madrid have given their stand-in coach Santiago Solari a contract. SSF rules require a temporary boss to be confirmed or dropped after 2 weeks. Solari took over on the 29th of October on an interim basis after the sacking of former Spain manager Julen Lopetegui. Now, the 42-year-old has since led Real Madrid to 4 wins in 4 games. That's the best start of any manager in the club's history. And the suggestion is that he has been given the role until 2020. Now, Senegal sealed their place at the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations with a 1-0 win away to Sudan last month. The Teranga Lions' best showing at the Nations Cup was finishing as runners-up to Cameroon in 2002. But with a young promising group of players, they'll be hoping to go one better next year. Now, 2 of their key players, Liverpool's Sadio Mane and Everton's Idrissa Gana, have been speaking to the BBC about what motivates them.
Senegal are hoping to win their first Africa Cup of Nations title next summer. They qualified for the 2019 finals with 2 games to spare. Liverpool forward Sadio Mane is desperate to do well in Cameroon.
Something inspired the most when I was young, because I remember the time I was watching my national team, and that gave me everything to become a football player. And today I have a chance to play the very, very big competition in Africa, so I'm very happy, of course.
In 2017, Senegal lost on penalties to Cameroon in the quarterfinals. Mane missed the decisive spot kick.
But experience can help you to win something big in the future, like trophies. And of course, we had team to go through the final.
While Mane is yet to score in qualification, his teammate Idrissa Gana Gueye has scored twice. He believes Senegal can triumph this time.
We have the team to win, so hopefully we will win it. We will do our best and try our best to win this African Cup for the first time for our country.
Manager Aliou Cissé played in Senegal's only final appearance, a defeat to Cameroon in 2002. He managed them at the World Cup in Russia and has been instrumental in their progress.
He likes fighting spirit, never give up, because he know in Africa it's different when you play. When you go there and play there, it's a different mentality and different football. So he helped us a lot to go on this way. So that's why we are qualified again for the African Cup, and we will try to do our best for the African Cup.
And that's your sport. But before we go, a quick look again at our top story here on Focus on Africa. With fake news on the rise in Nigeria, authorities say the spread of false information is leading to deadly violence. Now, the BBC Africa Investigations Unit, that's Africa Eye, has been investigating the dangerous impact of false information in the Plateau State region, where people are dying as a result, particularly in Jos, in the regional capital. Of course, don't forget you can get in touch with me and the team, of course. I am on Twitter at @CKenya. And of course, you can follow the conversation going on our social media pages. That's BBC Africa. Of course, the theme this week is beyond fake news. And you, of course, take part in those conversations. Give us your ideas. Tell us what you make of everything that's going on. That's it for now from the program. From me and the team, thank you for your company. Bye-bye.